they're not committed to the family vision if they're not a part of making the family vision.
Right.
And so it's important that we involve them in it. And of course, that's challenging because from the get-go, they're going to be like, boring. I don't want to do this.
Especially if we make it boring.
Especially if we make it boring.
Everyone sit down, shut up.
Right.
We're making a family mission statement. Like,
so we have to talk about how to make that more fun. We have to get them involved. They have to be a part of it, or else they're not going to buy into it. And in fact, I would say that the best source of ideas, I'll just go through this right now. The best source of ideas, I think, will come from your kids. So we shouldn't discount our kids' ideas or interests, because that is what's going to get them to buy in.
Well, it's like a super simple framework. It's the idea of ask, don't tell.
Yes.
Right. And so instead of you sitting aside one night, or you stay up late and you write it all out, and then you get up in the morning, tell your family what it is. Well, instead of doing that, ask them. Ask them what they would like to put on it. Ask them what their input is. Ask them what they think our family identity should be, and what should be in all those things, and ask them how they think we can pull it off. Like, get their input. And even if you have an idea of what you want it to be, ask good questions that lead them to that conclusion. And they'll feel like, I came up with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is amazing. You're like, yes, you did. That was an excellent idea. Let's put that on there. Well, maybe you already had it in your mind, but you want to help them get there, because then they're like, I'm in. I'm committed to this. I'm a part of it.
Right, because the powerful thing about asking is that they will use words and phrases that you might not necessarily use. But if you can take your ideas and connect them to the words and phrases they use, then they buy in more to it. So they'll use their ideas and words, and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's kind of like this. And I'm like, yeah, exactly like that. And then you can use that as part of the statement, but they understand what it means because they shared the idea, right?
Like your youth or teens might say, what are we going to be like as a family? Oh, we're going to be cool. Okay. What does cool mean, you guys? And then we come up with this working definition of what cool is. And everyone's like, yeah, like we're tough, but we're super nice. We help other people, but we do crazy stuff. Like, we're cool. And you're like, okay, boom, going on the family mission statement. Dennings are cool.
Right.
But we all know what cool means.
Mm-hmm.
And so they buy in. They're like, I like that word. Like, yeah, it means all this. This is so awesome. And so as a family, they buy into the identity of like, oh, we're cool people.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right.
Which reminds me of a story.
Okay.
So there I was, driving through some awesome city in France.
I actually thought of that very story.
Yes, in Strasbourg, France. And we're driving my old Defender, got the kids packed in there. First time in the city. It's just a super cool city. And there's like rivers, 2 different rivers going right through Old Town and everything. And I pulled up to a red light. And in America, you can turn right on a red light. Turns out in France, you cannot. So I pulled up, I looked, there was no traffic. Almost all of Europe. And I was like, okay, I'm turn right. So I turn right. And of course, shortly after that moment, there's cops behind us, lights on, pulling us over. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And so they bust me, and they're like, oh, this, and then the other. And they don't speak hardly any English. They're la, 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 they're just going on. And I didn't speak any French then. And so I get out, and I'm just like, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm just apologizing. So sorry. Like, America, okay. France, not okay. So sorry, so sorry. And they go away, and they're like, they're deliberating. And then they come back over, and he's like, okay, no ticket. We are, how you say? We are cool. We are cool. You good. We are cool. And I was like, you guys are cool. It's amazing. Thank you. Yeah. And I just always remembered that.
I know.
We are. How do you say?
Our family likes to say that. How you say we are cool.
Yeah. So it's just a great reminder.
But that's a good thing too, I like that example, because using those types of things is great for coming up with your family mission or vision. Like, you want to incorporate those memories, those sayings, the phrases, even using songs or quotes or scriptures or whatever it is.
Acronyms.
Like even if your kids are quoting movies or something, like incorporate that into creating this family vision so that they can be like, yeah, that's it.
If
It's
there's
like that line in the movie or
yes, if
that
there's a
song.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say if there's a movie or a song or some piece that's like that the whole family's like that is the essence of awesomeness we want. Capture that, use it instead of being all stiff and
Like, it needs to be proper
academic.
English and,
We need to use big expensive words, children.
exactly. And essentially, the point is that everyone in the family should be involved. Everyone should contribute a part of this mission or vision. And that can happen in lots of different ways. I can't think of anything off the top of my head from my family, but in their book, they mentioned that their 6-year-old daughter wanted to make sure that they told plenty of jokes, right? And so that was a part of their mission statement for a while. Like, we tell lots of jokes. And it's okay to include those kind of things because the point is they need to feel like, yeah, I was a part of this. I was involved in
And
creating this.
they have a voice. Like they say
Exactly.
something that they think is important and we honor it.
Yes.
Like every
Yes.
kid says, well, this is important. Like, yeah, you're right. That is important. Let's
Mhm.
add it. And
Yeah.
then every time they think about it or talk about it or see it, they're like, I contributed to this.
Exactly.
And they listened to me. I
Mhm.
told them that I thought this was important. They said, yep, that's important.
Mhm.
Then they feel like they're in it. It's really awesome.
Absolutely. I remember once we were making a family vision board and, I remember distinctly thinking there were some things that my kids wanted to put on the vision board. I don't remember what they were, but at the time I thought like, I'm not sure about that. But I put it on there anyways because it was important to them. And that's what mattered the most. That was what they were motivated about. That's what they were excited about.
Especially if they put in the work and effort to achieve it.
Exactly.
Then what you've done is you've cemented the
Yes.
process into their psyche of like, no, I
Right.
envision something, I work for it, I get it. Oh man,
Yes.
you've just set your kids up for success.
Exactly. Okay, so as we begin this process of creating a family mission statement, essentially we just have to ask questions. And we want to start, of course, by asking ourselves questions because as we then introduce this to our family, we need to have some thoughts about it beforehand. That's always helpful. So you have something to say. So you're just thinking like, what is our family about? What principles and ideals do we live by or do we want to live by? What do we want to achieve together or do as a family? What kind of family do you want to be? What kind of home do you want to have that you invite your people to? What does it feel like? And how do you want to be remembered as a family? Like just all of these types of questions. And in fact, you could get really creative with this. You could put them on a piece of paper. You could write them on a board. You could put them on sticky notes or something. Like just think about what your family would like. There's this game my kids love to play called the name game. And, I just thought it'd be fun. You could write the questions on a piece of paper because for this name game, you write them on a piece of paper and you put it in a bowl and then it would even be fun to do it like the name game because with the name game, you're trying to guess which person
Suggested. Or yeah.
which person came up with the name. So you'll put anything in there like Batman or Buddha, or you could even, some of the kids even put dad. And then you have to guess, oh, hey, is your name Dad? Were you the one that picked Dad or were you Buddha? You could do it like this for this. You could put in a bunch of questions and then you would have to guess who put what question into the.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun. I just came up with that right now.
Amazing.
It would be fun. Okay. So essentially though, the step 1 is just brainstorming. You're going through some sort of process like this where you're going to ask all of these questions, like 3 main purposes of your family. What do you value the most? And of course, this is going to be varied because you want everyone to contribute. So maybe one person is going to put travel and another person is going to put staying at home, right? And you're going to be like, okay, we're going to have to learn how to navigate this. But
we're moving into an RV.
so we can travel at home, but you want people to contribute what they value most because one of the worst things that can happen is if a family member feels like, well, my family values this, but I don't value any of that. You want them to be included in this. What do we value as a family? Same with highest priorities and goals. How will you handle conflict, right? That's an important That's an important piece. How will we do that? How will you lift each other when you're down? How will you contribute to your extended family or your community? And this is kind of where, because if you think about it like a circle, or I would say an onion, but who wants to be in the middle of an onion? If you're in the middle of that onion, there's like layers and layers. And if you begin in the middle, you're going to talk about the things closest to you, like handling conflict or interactions with each other or whatever's happening in the immediate vicinity. But you also want to extend that vision outside of your family. You want to think about like, okay, yeah, what kind of people are we going to be when we're around our extended family? How are we going to contribute to our community? What kind of mission are we going to fulfill, in the world? How are we going to contribute? How are we going to be remembered as a family? All of those types of things we want to include so that we have a bigger vision of why we're here and why we're together as a family. We were talking I think it was our podcast episode yesterday. And one of the things we mentioned, and kind of a tangent, was we were specifically talking about moms. And, it's a common thing, especially for young moms, but this can be for all moms, to be like, oh, well, my goal is just to make it through the day, right? But the problem with that is if that's your biggest goal, just to make it through the day, it's hard to make it through the day. But if you have a bigger vision, if you have something higher that you're aiming for, well, then making it through the day is just kind of like a side effect. It's just, yeah, that's going to happen because I'm going for this. And I think it's true with our families too. If we have this bigger vision of something we're trying to work on or become or achieve, then it's like the other things figure themselves out or kind of fall out of life, kind of like the void we were talking about. Like you're filling it now with good things, and some of those other things, there's no more room for those. There's no more room for some of those pettier things because as a family, we have this bigger vision of something we're trying to achieve, and that now takes root and pushes out the weeds, right? And I think, of course, for our family, we use travel because travel has been such a huge part of our life, but it's a great object lesson because as we work together as a family to achieve our travel goals, it pushes the other things out. And so we don't have the time or the energy to spend or to waste on some of those things because we're united, we're focused, we're working together to move towards the goal we're trying to achieve, the trip we're trying to go on.
And there's even layers because the way we travel is super unique. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I've met any families who travel like we do.
Yeah.
We just travel in a very unique way where we're just squeezing the juice out of life and getting the most of a situation. Like we're very proactive, conscious, fully engaged, adventurous travelers. Like we're not tourists and we're not, checking the boxes. Like we travel in a very unique way because we've been so thoughtful and deliberate about this for so long.
Yes, but it still works as an analogy.
Yep.
Because I think because the trip itself is almost something tangible, even though travel's technically not tangible, but it almost becomes tangible because it's a specific thing that's occurring. And so I feel that if you can create more of those in your family, a very specific outcome-driven goal you're working on, that creates a lot of unity for the family too, because everyone understands, like when we say we're going on a trip, everyone knows what that means. It means you're getting on a plane and you're flying here and then you come back. Like there's a beginning and there's an end and there's the stuff that happens in between. It's concrete in a way, even though it's not. The more of those types of things we can have where it's clear, like, we are buying land or we are raising animals or whatever it is, like if it's concrete with a specific outcome, I think that helps so much with the family vision and mission because we know what we're working for, we know what we're working towards, and we know whether or not we've achieved it. And that just brings, it's the whole thing about the hope. It's the better future. Like when you have that hope of this better future, it just drives and motivates you. And it becomes kind of this, I don't know what the word is I want to use. It becomes a reference point for everybody. Kind of just like if you're on Google Maps, you know, you're mapping your route, you know where you're starting from, you know where you're going. If you get off route, she tells you how to get back on route. And so that's what happens with our family as we like, oh, hey, this is what we're working for, right? And as we move forward, yeah, there's inevitably going to be times where we feel like we're completely off route. But then if we can kind of regroup and we're like, hey, remember, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. So even though right now it feels like nothing's happening or it feels like we're off, we're still focused on that. We just have to do this and we have to do that and we have to get back on track. And so now it becomes this reference point for us to keep moving forward towards this shared goal that we have.